welcome everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us today for Gnosiz. We're really excited about this new product within Zerion Software. If this is your first time attending a Gnosiz webinar, that's okay. If you have no idea what I'm even talking about when I say Gnosiz, then that's even better because that will give you a great experience to learn all about it. If you've joined us on the other sessions, then this will be a wonderful time for you to see really what's developed with the product and really how we've kind of changed it to meet our customers' needs. You know, doing these different beta testers and everything like that has been really successful with building out this product to meet what it is that you have. So my name is Barrett Johannesson, and today our presenter is going to be Sze Wong, and he's the CEO at Zerion Software. So the first thing we're going to do actually is I am going to put up a quick poll for you. All right, so Sze, just so that you know, we have about 38% of the attendees are currently struggling in building reports. About 50% say struggling, easy process, but spending all my time. 11 are pretty confident in their reporting and say that their reporting is fantastic. All right, well, thank you guys for responding, and Sze, it's now your show.
All right. So, good morning, everybody. So, before I start, I want to start with a few slides. Yeah, it's still, I've done this a few times now, this kind of webinar. It still feels odd that I'm looking at nothing. Looking at a screen rather than a room full of people. So I'll continue to imagine a room full of people. So before I start, can somebody tell or make a guess of what these pictures are taken? This is from actually one of my trips from last year, actually. Anybody? Raise your hand. I know I cannot see you, but still. Or you can type into chat or a minute. Anybody? No. Nope. All right. Anyway, I know this is odd in a webinar format. These are taken in Bangladesh, Dhaka, Bangladesh. Last year, Tony and I went there, and we had a conference, an event about agriculture. So we went there and talked to local farmers and visited some farms. And at the end, we actually had a meeting. This is the meeting at a farm. So why did I bring this up? I go to trips like these to remind myself why we're doing what we're doing. And when we see that the work that we do is indeed helping farmers in small or big ways, and they're very appreciative of what we do, that I'm very appreciative of that. So always come home happy that we're doing what we do. So I just want to start with that. That makes me feel happy about our work. So, what are we talking about today? We're talking about this new product that we're about to launch. We haven't launched yet. A few of you are in the beta program, and at the end of this, please let us know if you want to join the beta program. We want as many feedback as possible. So, Barry, do we want to do another poll or not?
Yes, we do.
So we're doing another polling before any material.
Actually, what?
Yeah, we'll do it later. Okay.
No, we'll do it. Got it.
All right. Okay. So what is Gnosiz? Gnosiz is a super secure data refining engine. Now, this is a new formal definition of what it is. After a lot of feedback from you, that's what we're focusing on. Now, it is basically a mean for you to process data, refine your data. Through iPhone Builder, we have unlocked the ability for you all to collect a lot of data and solve the mobile data collection problem. Now that you have a lot of data, many of you are struggling and asking us what do I do with that, and Gnosys is the answer to that. Two main features of it is security and data refining. So I'll go into security first, and then data refining next, and then Woody will give you a demo of what it looks like right now. All right. So where are we? Okay. So I'm going back to, you all know where I'm going with this. You have the Target hack, you have the Home Depot hack, you have the Sony hack, then you have the government being hacked, then you have a website that I don't know nothing about being hacked, and then you have even more interesting Experian, the very company that has data protection service being hacked, and Patreon also got hacked. So what's going on here? Now, I think you may be thinking that, well, he's going to say Gnosys will solve all the problems. No, I'm not going to say that. What I'm saying is there needs to be a paradigm shift. I sense that our industry is going through all these hacks. That's because we've been protecting our information incorrectly. It is so Sony CEO being interviewed last week in an event, and John Carling from the Department of Justice said this. Basically, there's no wall high enough to keep a determination out of your system. So that's very telling. Now, because what we have been, and then there is another report that says Sony was hacked in 2011, and they rev up their security, and they got hacked again. And then the big hack in 2014 got hacked again. So basically, you cannot build a big firewall to deal with that. So how do we tackle this problem? And I think that's what I want to talk about. It is a paradigm shift that is required. In our industry, it's as if we are living in a very nice neighborhood. So you put a lock in your front door or maybe a gate, and that's usually enough. You feel like you're safe within your room and your house. And so you lay things around. You don't protect anything inside your house. I mean, that's very normal of I would say any U.S. neighborhood. You feel safe within even your neighborhood. Now, I think that is what needs to change. We are going into a very unsafe scenario where hackers can get in no matter how big a lock you have. So how do we do that? How do we protect when there's no big enough wall, there's no big enough firewalls, there's no big enough authentication that can limit hackers from getting in? So interesting enough, I'm going to Rome next week. So I've done search. Some friends said me, hey, you got to be careful in Rome as you're walking around. There are pickpockets. So I came across this article. And actually talk about how do you avoid being pickpocketed. So in that article, it's very interesting. There's this line there you can read. It resonated with me very, very much, is that when they decided you're a target, then you are done. You can't outsmart them. Using the current scenario is as if you want to be avoid being pickpocketed by hiring guards, hiring more and more guards to guard you. That doesn't work. Well, that actually may work, but that's crazy. So what you want to do is make yourself less of a target. And I guess whoever's in the audience, right now or later, unless you're a national target, right? I assume none of you are FBI or CIA, right? You're not a high-value national target. So as a company, even though you're collecting a lot of very important information, there are ways to make yourself not of a target. And in general, I call this make hacking less profitable for the hackers. If we can make it less profitable, they go after somewhere else. And actually, I joke about in my neighborhood, nobody locks their doors. So I joke about my best defense on my house is putting a sign on my yard pointing to my neighbors saying that they don't lock their doors. So that will be because people want to pick the easiest target. So just don't be the easiest target and make hacking less profitable. So how do we do that? So and that is kind of where we're going with Gnosys, and not trying to say we're saving everybody, but as someone in the industry, I think we have the obligation to do this and to push the industry a little bit forward. And our answer is introducing trust no one or following this trust no one design principle. Now going back to, this is how traditional system works. So you have a database, a big database, and a big lock. Everything is encrypted using a golden key. So you have a system key, and then you have a policy table. And the system, this gray box here is represent your system. And the system decide who gets in or not, right? And that's how I would say 95% of the system are designed. And then outside the system, you have firewalls and whatnot. Now, it is software coding that decide who gets in, and there is one system key. And it's very similar to, like, you have a bouncer guarding the club, the party. Well, as my friend Chris always say, it's very easy to get into any club. So you just befriend with the bouncer. You just kind of hack this one big thing, and then you're in. Once you're in, you have the entire party with you. And that's the problem with our current security model. So what Gnosys does is trying to distribute that responsibility into smaller chunks. So then again, making hacking less profitable. And so this is the kind of a very simple representation of how Gnosys solved this encryption problem. And so in Gnosys, you will have many chunks of data. Each database represents a group, what we call record sets. And each one has their own lock. These locks have separate keys. The keys are locked, and these locks can only be opened with your personal keys. So when something is compromised, like the first user here is compromised, let's say he used a password that is 123. Now the only thing is compromised is his own data set that he has access to, and the access is protected by the encryption scheme instead of coding, instead of using a policy table, which can be hacked on its own. So this way, we feel like it is distributed, and also there is no master key. We can't see your data. We can't go in. So there's no point of. So there, and right now there talks about Sony hack being an insider job. It's like someone from inside hacking. So it's really hard to protect. Now this way, we ourselves do not have access to your data. And I always talked about another story about the insider, which a couple months ago we have a meeting with a bank, and there's a new relationship manager, and come in and say, hey, I went through all your transactions and figured that you guys do this much, like that's your habit. And I said, when did I give you access? I gave the bank access. But when did I give you access? I don't know you, right? Now the current problem is that, yeah, once you're an employee of an organization, you have access to everything. And sometimes you call the cell phone company. Sometimes they will say, hey, can I have access to look at your account? Well, guess what? That's just a gesture to satisfy legal. They already have access. So what I want to do, what Gnosys wants to do, is to push the industry into a trust no one now. And we're not the only one doing that. Apple is doing that. Box.com is doing that. Amazon is also pushing. So we're doing our part in this fight against hackers. All right. So where's this? Right. So there are a few points about this scheme that I want to mention about. First, there's no system keys. So there's no one thing that can, no big single bouncer that can be hacked that can compromise the entire system. In the worst case scenario, something got compromised. It's not the entire system. Not as bad as Sony, right? Again, going back to the distributed idea. Everything is distributed, and you, as a user, got to define how big or small these things are. You can make it amazingly small. Of course, that will make processing a little bit more difficult. But if that's your goal, you make the record set smaller, thereby also distributing risks. And finally, most important, we don't have access. We can't see it. So there's less risk again in our insider or internally compromised because of social engineering. Okay, so that's security.
All right, Z. So before you go to the next subject, we have 2 polls that we want to launch. This first one is just asking if your company is using any kind of additional requirements for data security because of all these hacks. So this is just a yes, no, or not sure for the response. But while people are responding to this, Z, if you wouldn't mind giving like the 15-second elevator pitch of what Gnosiz is and kind of summarize as a whole what this product is meant to do.
Sure. So what this product is meant to do is give you a way to refine data. And security is a part of it, but the high level is Gnosiz is a secure data refining engine. So the goal of it is for you to collect a lot of data and then make the data better, right? So we always said iPhone Builder give you good data, allow you to collect data. Now that you have a lot of data, we want to give you a lot of mean to make the data better. And that's what we want to do. And that's what I'm going to go into next.
Okay, great. So just so you know, so far we have about 70% of the audience respond, and 22 of them, their companies are adding additional security requirements. 33 have not, and then 40 just aren't sure. Mm-hmm. So we have one more poll. I'm going to close this one, so thank you guys for responding to this poll. The next poll that I'm going to launch is about your BI tool. And it's just, do you or your company currently use a BI tool? So that's, again, a yes, no, I'm not sure. And while people are responding to this, Z, I do want to ask you, how will this impact iForm Builder? Because a lot of people on this call, they're iForm Builder users. Mm-hmm.
Well, it should not impact iPhone Builder in any way. We're launching it as a separate product. The hope is that we're solving the right problem, and then you are, as an iPhone Builder customer, will push us to incorporate many of these features inside iPhone Builder, which I think is very natural. But in the beginning, we're going to launch it as a separate product.
All right, so it looks like the only 20% are currently using one, 30% are not, and 50 just aren't sure.
Okay.
And I'll hand it back to you now.
So these are very telling. For the first question about security, I think over half of you says either you're not doing much or you're not sure. That's where I feel our responsibility is. I think a lot of our competitors, I would say our peers in the industry, because not a lot of you know what questions to ask, then we could be lazy on that regard, because, I mean, that's not very important. But to me, customer doesn't know about doesn't mean that you shouldn't have. And to me, that's a responsibility that I am taking. We're going to go beyond what you ask to try to protect you. Okay, so that's my stand on security. Yeah, so I just feel like a moral obligation to do a better job. Next, we're going to go into the world BI, actually. This is my feeling after talking to many of you that something is not quite right in the world BI. This is a short list of the big BI tools that are out there. Short list of the big BI tools that are out there. There are probably 5 to 10 times more that are out there. I mean, it's my feeling that okay, why are there so many of these? In other industry, right? Even mobile data collection, there aren't so many. There are many, but not as crowded as BI. So something is kind of like, okay, are we doing the right thing? And then I start talking to many of you and get feedback from our team, our customers, and it is my feeling that something is missing. It's missing because maybe the BI tool that your company is using is too complicated, too hard to use, too restricted, too this or that. It just somehow doesn't work. I don't know, but it is the feeling that whatever BI tool is out there, it just somehow doesn't work. So what I feel is that what you guys are trying to do, and I think a lot of you mentioned that you're kind of semi-struggling with reporting. And traditionally, reporting is done through BI. And I think that's one of the fundamental issue with this is that we traditionally view reporting as visualization and formatting and also making data better. And the wrong view of if you have a lot of data, you lump it into a giant reporting app or reporting tool, and then reports can come out. What I learned and the way we're trying to solve is that there is a middle step that you need to do, and that is data refining. And data refining basically means, and this is the definition from IBM that you're looking at, what it means is that you have a bunch of data, you make it better before it pushes to someone. And this defined very well through IBM is the transformation of raw data into relevant and actionable information and prepare it for those who need it. Now, those who need it could be a reporting tool. And I define reporting as formatting and visualizing it. So there are two aspects of actual reporting. One will be making a PDF, one will be making a dashboard type. Those are what I call reporting. And I know that's deviate from the industry norm, but that's just me. Yeah.
Would you say that the industry norm, or a lot of our customers right now, when they say reporting, they're just talking about Excel?
Well, yes, indeed. A lot of our customers actually use Excel as reporting. The more I drill into what people call reporting, the more I realize most of your time is actually spent on data refining. Most of your time is spent on, you have this, you will select this column, you will select this column, filtering out all the interviewee of gender male, and then summarize it by zip code, summarize it by school zone, and then you report, and then you generate a report. And another thing I noticed is in a lot of BI tools, this quote-unquote data refining part of the BI tool is almost an afterthought. When you go into a BI demo, most BI tools show you the nice-looking final report and the nice-looking chart, the animation. Well, to me, that is very important. But you spend most of your time selecting which column you want, and how you do that is the most important part of this entire quote-unquote reporting process. So that's where we're going to focus on, is just doing data refining. And more than that, and what we discover is our customer base, what they want to do in data refining is not anything super fancy. All you're looking for is something that gets your work done, and most of the time is just filtering and aggregation. And if you think about what you do in the last month, last quarter, a lot of you are doing monthly summary, daily summary of some sort, selecting this, summarizing that. That's most of what our customers is needed, not this big BI like platform that most BI company wants to sell to you. Most of that is not what I call reporting, that's data refining. You get the data to the point that you can now report it. And again, I define reporting as merely formatting. You can choose red or blue for your font, what font size, or the visualizing it. Building a chart, the pie chart, the bar chart, the line chart is very easy once your data is in a nice format. So we're going to focus on that rather than visualizing it. So how are we doing this? This is kind of the high-level, super high-level processing of what we call the Gnosys data refining. And yeah, you'll see this like the refinery engine. And again, the analogy comes from the oil industry, which they actually do that physically. The idea is that you will have buckets. And now again, from a security perspective, each of these buckets are secure separately. But we're not focusing on security at this point. So you have buckets, and then you can dump data in iPhone Builder, ODK, or Pronto Form, Excel, Access Database, anything that you put into bucket or buckets. And then you define your processing logic. Now, and each subsequent buckets will have their built-in logic. So the logic could be removal of compliance requirements like personal information, and then each bucket also has a water slide or a pipe that will allow you to act on it. What do you want to do after this? Like you want to send it to an external system, you want to email it out, or you want to send it to yet another bucket. And so these things can be chained together. So the top line says, okay, remove personal information and then summarize by zip code and then send to Soho report. Or on the other side, you want to summarize by gender and then send to portfolio for dashboard. So we want to create an environment where you define all these logic ahead of time. And as data comes in, they will continue to refine. So once it's set, they're in motion, and they will continue to flow like imagine you're in a data refinery room that is actually doing oil refinery. Your data you can see it. I mean, that's one of my dreams is build a big room, and then as data comes in, I'll see it floating through these different buckets. And so you will spend your time defining these logics. Now, if you're thinking like this is maybe similar to a macro in Excel, then you're thinking along the right line. That is where it came from. I observe a lot of you doing Excel summarization and doing like Excel macro. But Excel can't deal with scale, and a lot of actually even some of the reporting tools cannot deal with the scale and complexity. And this is what it's trying to do. And we're building it on a big data platform and trying to build at scale. Now, iPhone Builder is in a very big scale right now. We process 500,000 transactions a day. 500,000 a day. That is like quite crazy. So we start having big scale, and we want to build a new foundation on how to process those data on a big scale too. So in a big data foundation, in a security foundation, we want to allow you to have the freedom to refine data, define how you want to refine your data, and have them run automatically rather than spend most of your time like cutting and pasting Excel files. Okay? So, and like I said, this is where it's modeled after. So imagine yourself sitting in the control panel of these giant oil refinery, and instead of cutting and pasting Excel, you have the luxury of sitting there and looking at the oil just filling in and getting into a gas station where you make a lot of money. All right, so I want to emphasize that we're not trying to become a BI tool. We're not. We're trying to make every single BI tool better. And then some of you will ask the question at this point, so does that mean I need to buy Gnosys and then I will need to buy another BI tool? The answer is yes and no. The answer is no if your need is very, 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 very simple. Woody here, he's already thinking about how to give you the basic visual and the basic format, and then actually even iPhone Builder has that. But again, our focus is going to make data refining better so that I always say, so that even Microsoft Word will become a great reporting tool. If you imagine your data goes into Microsoft Word in a very nice format, everything that you need, everything that you want to repeat is already there, then your only job is to format it, is to decide what goes to the left, what goes to the right, what is bigger, the font size, the color. And actually Microsoft Word can do that. And Excel will become a very cool dashboard tool. So again, and the no of that question is that, well, we believe there are so many tools out there that does formatting, reporting, and visualizing much, much better. And we're not going to spend our energy into it. Now, in the future, if we find that there are gaps in the visualization world or actually PDF generation world, we may go into that. But right now, we're going to focus on the gap in the industry, which seem to be data refining, in particular, filtering and aggregation. So that's all I have. And we'll go into a demo, what people are looking forward for.
So basically, the data that I will be using for the demo today is a tech company funding, so that I found from the internet. And the content of the data itself has basically has a company, city, states, the rates amount. So so I'll be showing you the way the data refinery from Gnosiz can do to it. So it start out that the data is coming in. We will create a bucket called company fundings, which will contain all the fundings for each company for each state. And then from there, we're gonna use the basically push the data to a different 3 other buckets actually. The second bucket here is company funding by states. We want to know, basically in this bucket, we want to know how much money is going into each state. And then the third bucket here, basically, I want to just narrow it down to just the funding that goes to the states of California. And then the fourth bucket, which is the data that coming from the states of California, then I want to know how much money is going into each company that is in the states of California. So this is what we're gonna create it in hopefully 1 minute. So the first thing I'll do is I'll log into Gnosiz, and then I will create 4 buckets, which we call record sets in this case. So that's the main one, company funding. And then company funding by states. Company funding California. And last one, company funding California by companies. So now that we have all the 4 buckets that we're trying to do, we're just gonna start. As you can see, the 3 buckets here has a refining piece logic defined. So we're gonna start by adding the logic, the refining logic to the first one, the company funding by states. So to do that, we just go into the bucket there, and then go into the data refining section, and we will create a new refining action. So in this case, basically it's asking for the sample data, so I'm just gonna paste it in. This will just help in creating the, because it will analyze the data and then build up the drop down for us. So in this case, since we're interested in data by states, so that's what we're going to be grouping by. We're going to be grouping by states. And we want to know about the amount of money going into each state. So in this case, then we will perform a sum and the raise amount on the raise amount for each state. And that's pretty much the bucket, the logic for that bucket. So we're going to go back to we're going to move on to the next one. The next one is company funding for states of California. So in this case, we will be using a different, it's a filter process. So again, same thing, we put the data in, sample data. And then in this case, we're going to be saying that I am interested in the state of California. So only data that is belongs to the state of California will get filtered into this bucket. And the third bucket then is a company funding California by companies. So in this case, the data from that got filtered by the previous bucket for the state of California, that will get pushed to this one. And then in this case, we will want to do a grouping by company. And then again, this one will be just a sum money. So now that we will know that for each company, how much money did they get funding for in the state of California. So now, going back to this map again, we have defined the refining piece for these three buckets. So now we need to link them together so that the data can get pushed from the from each bucket to another bucket. So we're gonna start by going into company funding first, and then we're gonna define the we call it actions, the post action, and then we're gonna make it push data to the company funding by state bucket and company funding for state of California. So we'll go back to company funding, go to data refining, and go to the post action. And in the post action, we will just go to the action piece and then say that we want to push it to another record set. And we will want to push it to company funding California bucket. So that's one. Then we create another post action, and we will push it to company funding by states.
And what are the other actions you have there?
So actually, at the top, here.
Yeah.
So basically, as of right now, we can push data to another bucket or another record set. But eventually, we're going to keep adding more things into this. Like you should be able to email or post data into somewhere else, even iForm Builder. So, so the idea is that, and another thing is that I haven't shown is the condition. So maybe we can even create this into a workflow engine so that we can say, if status is equal to 100, then I want to email it to the manager or something, letting them know that something happened, they need to check on the data or something like that. Or maybe this eventually we have some of the customer that wants to be able to reassign data based on, this is iForm Builder customer, they want to be able to reassign data based upon some certain condition. And this can be one of the things that it can be done. We can set a condition, and then based on that, we assign the data to, or post the data to another another form or something, or a user. So yeah, it's not there yet, but so go back to this chart again. So now I'm gonna go to the company funding for state of California, and then create an action to push the data to the company funding for state of California by company. So again, it's a simple process. Basically, just go to company funding California, go to the post action, and go to the action section, and then push to by company. So that's pretty much the setup. So now I'm going to go into company funding and start pushing data. So as of right now, there's multiple ways to push the data. You can do a JSON upload. You can do a CSV upload. You can create a webhook so that the data can be pushed from, like, say, iPhone Builder post-process can be pushed to Gnosys. Or you can use the API, the Gnosys API, to push the data into Gnosys system as well. For this particular example, then I will use the CSV file upload. So I select the file, and then as you can see, everything is empty right now. So I click Add, and then 1,460 records have been added into the system. And then if I go out now to the company funding for the state of California, then I can see that now all the data is down to 873 in this case, and it's only for the state of California. And company funding by states, then basically if you scroll down, then it will show that for each state, the column here is basically the amount that has been given to each of those states. And then lastly, company funding CA by company. Then also same thing. It will divide it into, for each company, it will show how much money that each company has received. And that's pretty much the demo for today. Basically, I'm just trying to show you that based on the data, you can create something or analyze something pretty quickly by just a simple setup using Gnosys.
That was great. Thank you so much, Woody. And for those of you who haven't joined some of these other webinars, I would urge you to listen to the past webinar session we have if you wanted to see how we've progressed. I also have a quick poll that I'm going to add. And if you wouldn't mind answering it, it's just which aspects of Gnosys are you most excited about? I do see that we have a question that just popped up, so let me go into that.
Right, before we move on, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Right, before we move on, I want to, if you go back to our webinar in February, we weren't even target to release data refining this year. So if you go back to February, we went, at that point, we thought we can only get data storage done. It is some heroic effort from Woody and team, and just over early summer, we realized we could actually get this done this year, so that's why we're pushing so hard. And we realized data refining is actually a defining feature. So we don't want to push it to next year. So I just wanted some background information. And also, a couple of things about the way that we design the data refining. One is about scalability, right? So you can imagine you can do this very easily in Excel. But if you have millions upon millions of records coming in every single day, then it's really hard to do that. Scalability, so it's one. Another thing is repeatability, right? So you want to be able to set it up once, and then data flows, and then your report change, and then you can go look at it. And that's also why each of these steps, if you will, is a separate bucket. So if you decide to share each of these steps, that's very easy. If you want to recreate your entire study, let's say some of our customers are in schools, in colleges, they're doing a research study. Your entire process is pretty much there. Down the road, we will have one screen that will be able to print out and export as your entire process. So those are some of the design decisions that we took. All right. So.
All right, great, thank you. I have shown the results of the quick poll that we just did, and it looks like the data analytics in the refinery is really what's going to be helpful.
I mean, as expected, right? And 15%, 14% of you worry about security. And so, yes, that will be something that we will worry about so that you don't have to worry about. So security is something that I'm personally passionate about. So you can trust that we'll do our best. And we also, on that regard, we want to try to give you the right questions to ask. I feel like a lot of our customers are not asking the right questions. So we want to push the industry forward a little bit, push our peers a little bit, and then, of course, on what you need to do to get your work done on data refining and analytics. That's what we're going to push a lot of energy on.
And then we have a question from one of our listeners, and it says, we weight our data based on many things. One example is census data of gender and age for countries in our state, or counties in our state, I'm sorry. Is this where the conditional comes in? We could have those weights in there already, input the data, and it would weigh it for us in real time versus us waiting for the whole data set to be complete and manually adding in the weights.
Right. So while Woody is coding in real time, I can answer that question. This is very similar to scoring in iFormula. And so the quick answer is yes. The idea is that once we'll be able to do scoring, which is a kind of summarization, and you can see my worldview is that everything is either filtering or aggregation. So scoring is a weight. It's a kind of summarization. And yes, then the ability, and if you listen to session 2, then you will know underlying our data refinery is the MapReduce engine. One of the key signature feature of MapReduce is that you can reduce on reduce. So as data comes in, it will summarize or weight or score on the current data set. And as more data comes in, it will reduce on the reduce and will continue to summarize. So hope that answered your question. So, I mean, I want to emphasize, we cannot do this exact feature right now. So the weighting is something that will add into the aggregation logic. And again, that actually touches another big design principle. The skill set that is required to set these up, it will be form builder or less. If you can currently do form building, which is like in iForm Builder, you can build a form, you can add a little bit of logic in there. That is the skill set that you need. We'll try to make it as simple as possible for frequent request features. Summarizing, in particular, aggregation will have the basic, like you can sum, you can average, you can min and max, and weight scoring is coming up next, which is already in iForm Builder. But in addition to that, we will have ability for you to actually put in your own logic, your own summarizing logic that we don't know about. I mean, we don't know statistics that well. If you want to do, I don't even know, like simple normal distribution or whatever it is, and you have the formula, you can put it in. And then as more and more people use it, we can then bring it into the system, and it becomes a drop-down list. And again, one of our design principles is that we want to give our users a lot of power. And a lot of you like iPhone Builder because it's power. And so we'll continue to continue down that path instead of making it simply drag and drop.
Megan, I hope you can see my screen right now. I just put up our ending slide here, and I just want to make sure that you are aware that we offer free training webinars at least once a month, and those can be found if you go to iformbuilder.com and you go under the Learn More tab, you'll see webinars. Once you're in there, you'll see the upcoming webinars, any special topic recordings, so that would be like today's, and any of our training recordings. So the training recording sessions are the repetitive sessions that we have. That's Form Builder 101, Form Builder 102, and data integrations. And in the web page that we're going to have where the recording is going to be hosted, you'll be able to sign up for the beta program. So if this is something that you're interested in, if you're looking to try to test out Gnosys, we'd be happy to have you a part of that beta program, and you can sign up on that web page. If that's it, I just want to thank Woody and Z for this awesome session, and thank you all for attending, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.